Good morning, Vietnam. Good morning, Vietnam. Water break. I just started the stream. Water break. Hold on. What's up, everybody? Hope you're great. Hope you guys have had a good weekend so far. What is it, Saturday? I've had a pretty good weekend, except for it's snowing again in Pittsburgh. I mean, it's only going to be 1 to 3 inches or so, but we still have all the snow banks from the plows from the last foot storm that we got. So I'm just kind of over it, just tired of it, ready to snowbird, or at the very least take a trip to Florida in March, probably late March or so with my girlfriend. Just can't fucking wait. Tired of it all. All right, let's talk about a couple things. Let's talk about libido on TRT. I mean, I can say this: the types of protocols that I've seen induce really, really good sex drive are either the ones in which estradiol gets to peak but still stay within range while you have high DHT, and you can fashion that in a lot of different ways. That's basically the crux of it. I mean, that's essentially the template. People are able to do that with like 70 milligrams of cypionate every fourth day, right? It's just a good peak and then a good trough. People are able to do that with AIs, although that's rare. Sparingly that happens. But folks are able to achieve that, in my experience, especially over the last 2 years, a lot easier with hybrids. You have a protocol that gives you a base level of test, preferably where E2 falls around 22 or so. And then once a week, you infuse some cypionate. If you're using cream, or once every 3 days, you infuse a little bit of test prop, like 5 to 10 milligrams. Those are the kinds of protocols where I see fucking insatiable libido. It is pretty rare, but this does happen, where people actually respond to the cookie cutter stuff and they just inject 150 or so, 170 a week. Just one time. And those guys have crazy fucking libido. I think going into TRT, a lot of us think like, we should be able to just do that. And people start that way. But then what ends up usually happening, right? You have a back full of acne. You've got moon face. You're bloated. And your dick doesn't work. Nothing good about that, right? So the sensitivity of people has created this... if you will, a different section of TRT advice, right? This whole different contingent of strategy to dial in the sexual function on TRT. That is why people like me exist, and that's why other coaches, if there are any, I mean, there are a few that discuss sexual function on TRT exists. Because the clinics, this discipline of dialing in sexual function for sensitive individuals, which is most of us, frankly, it doesn't exist. And the clinics won't help you with that. That's just the bottom line. What we're doing here is I see in, I guess not the market, but just the TRT internet sphere, that the discussion around TRT and the nuanced advice about dialing in the sex stuff is lacking, right? It's lacking. Otherwise, everybody would dial in, right? The information, if it was out there on Reddit or other YouTubers or whatever, everybody would just dial in and it'd be easy. But there's a fucking mass of individuals who have not dialed in, who are having a hard time dialing in. And that is what this channel is about. Let's talk about erection quality without Cialis. Now, look, I think that Cialis is a great TRT add-on. I think you don't do it so that you can solely induce erection quality in the presence of ED, because then you have a problem, right? And rarely does Cialis even fix that. If you need Cialis for erections, that means your protocol is pretty skewed, and Cialis maybe is coming through and fixing that, maybe. Largely not. If your protocol is so fucked up, you can take 20 of Cialis and it won't really do a whole lot. Honestly, it will not function as a PDE5 inhibitor. It will not give you better erections. And people see this all the time. However, 5 milligrams a day is a great dose for everybody, right? It's probably keeping your heart healthy. It's adding blood to your neurons in your brain. There's studies on this, and it's essentially like a mild nootropic to be taking Cialis every day. And 5 milligrams is the good dose. That's what I run every day. But You could also run 10 milligrams a day. Yeah, if your blood pressure is not sensitive to it. Some people, it's going to drop it too low. But 10 milligrams a day on top of a fucking great TRT protocol, you will not ever not have very, very rigid erections. And that is what you want. Boys, right now, for the weekend, we're doing this every weekend, and then we're kind of cutting the coupon code for the week. Coaching is 30% off. That is the 3 and the 6 month packages. The code is on the bottom of this graphic. It is 30 now, and I will keep that on the screen. All right, let's get to questions. Brothers, not joshing around. Love that, dude. Okay, try Test E and Test C with HCG for 4+ years for PSSD. Yeah, it's all about the nuance, right? So if you didn't get it right, it's the protocol, and usually those esters don't work all that great. I'll give you an example in a second of how enanthate failed in a PFS case. Muted orgasms and no libido, no success. Switching to test cream with HCG and feeling hopeful. Thanks for the content. Yeah, that's exactly where you need to be, brother. You can't waste time if you found that, dialing in the long esters is hard. You can do it, but you're going to need to take an aromatase inhibitor, almost definitely. People like this need to be running 140, 150, 160, maybe even 200 with 0.25 Arimidex once a week. But these cases are so fringe, it goes beyond and out of the scope of my usual advice, where, let me give you the example. I've got a guy that we tried everything with Test E to test enanthate to just run through and exhaust all of the options with long esters. And to get estrogen close to range, it was still over at like 40 something. We had to go down to 12 milligrams a day. That's 84 milligrams a week. Estrogen was 40, 42, I want to say. DHT still low-ish in range, but low. Test around 400. That's long esters for you, especially for people that have sexual dysfunction induced by the inhibition of DHT, which does happen with SSRIs too. Okay, so this guy's now dialed in on, is it 150 a week? And these are daily injections. Oh, no, he's dialed in, correction. He's dialed in now on 5 pumps of cream, 100 milligram cream, but God, I need to look at my notes here. It's either 0.125 or 0.25. I think it's 0.125 Arimidex every other day. Every other day. E2 last check was 20 or 19 or so, 19 or 20. Erections, libido, all that back, right? But with cream. So you're almost definitely going to have to, you should try cream first and see, okay, 4 clicks, 5 clicks of the 100 milligram stuff. It's 25 milligrams of testosterone per application on the scrotum. Does the E2 still go over? Well, if Tess is at 1100, yes, then you need to move down to 4 clicks or maybe even 3 clicks. You're a hyper responder in that case. But can you get E2 at 30 and, total test at 600, 650, 700 or so? You don't want to be below 500 in this case. Otherwise, it just isn't worth it. And you have to go on higher doses with an AI at that point. But you can make this work. You're going to need HCG no matter what, so that complicates things. It just means that you've got to situate your cream protocol, in this case, to where E2 falls around 20, and then you got 100 IU or so of HCG every day, and the E2 bumps up to 27, 28. You're in the fucking zone. You have loads of DHT via testicular application of the cream, and then you ride off into the sunset. But this is completely fixable. If you've got the budget, just hire me. This is the stuff I do all the time. We'll fix it. Otherwise, go at it with cream. Like I said, look at the estradiol after about 4 weeks, 5 weeks, because that enanthate's going to need to clear your system. Go from there. Mike Reynolds, good morning, brother. Do you recommend mostly cream for PFS people? Yes, I remember Dave Lee saying it can take at least 6 months before sexually recovered. Yeah. It's not true that it can't. Well, so it's true that it can take, but it shouldn't take that long. It will only take that long if you're trying to exhaust other options, like using long esters first, and you go through that process, because the adjustment period is, it's so fucking long with long esters because of how long it takes them to leave your body and how long it takes you to actually notice changes. Where you stabilize on a long ester is much longer. So if you have to exhaust those routes first, or you want to, say the user prefers using test cypionate or test enanthate, then it will take longer. If you get right on cream from the gate, it should not take 6 months. All you have to do, assuming you have functional testicles, which means you need HCG, is get E2 in range. That's all you have to do. That is all you have to do, because with cream, you will have enough DHT. Now, will you have as much as an ordinary dude that doesn't have PFS that takes cream? Probably not, because you folks have either less quantity or less function of the 5-alpha reductase enzymes induced by chronic DHT inhibition. But the good news is that continuous exposure to DHT in the case of PFS upregulates, if you will, via androgen-mediated gene transcription, 5-alpha reductase isoenzymes. Okay, that is in the literature. I just had somebody try to challenge that, and I had to like go find those 2 papers and post them. So please keep that in mind. Hey, Ryan, what do you recommend? Daily HCG or every other day? I would say daily at this point. I mean, considering if you do every other day, you run the risk of kind of dialing out for a day. You know what I mean? Because, your estradiol is going to kind of fluctuate a little bit. TT is going to fluctuate, and you want not steady state with everything, but with HCG, you want it pretty steady state. It's the test that you want peaks and troughs to an extent, not a major extent. Otherwise, you're going to have a back full of acne. Why don't take it every 3 days? Not sure what you're referring to. Is it possible to run a cycle using testosterone cream? Do you recommend doing so? It is possible. At one point during last summer when I was running cycles for 4 months or so, I had been doing 500 or so of test prop and like 300 milligrams effectively a week of test cream. And that was like 800 milligrams a week total androgens. This was only for like 2 weeks, just an experiment. I had at one point switched, though, to, God, was it 6 pumps? I want to say it was 6 pumps. So it's kind of sports TRT, considering it's in and out of your system, of 200 milligram cream. And yes, I was anabolic as shit, but loads of acne. And it had shut down my balls, even in the presence of HCG, like significantly. There's probably mechanisms for that. No one tells you that, but cream in too high fucking doses on the boys will shut it down, even in the presence of HCG. It's probably just too much intrasticular DHT. That's something that you guys got to be aware of that no one else talks about. DRH06. Are you a robot, dude? 5 clicks of 100 milligram cream, 100 IU. Okay, see, look at this, guys. I mean, this is exactly what I'm talking about. That's why I suggest, that's why on the cream course, do I have the cream course anywhere? Yeah, this. That's why, that's the old cover, but, same thing. That's why I suggest you folks get this that are dialing on a cream, because we teach you how to do it with protocols like that and many more. Blood drawn 5 hours after application. Erections are great, but energy and libido average. Another click or shot a sip. Okay, I would do the shot a sip in it if I were you. Yeah, I mean, here's the problem. E2 is 28, so you don't really have a whole lot of room to move up. But a shot of cypionate, I would do like 30 milligrams. I wouldn't do the whole 40 in this. We'll take that E2 probably to 35, 37 for a brief period, after which it's going to trough back down. But the peak and trough in estradiol might be what revitalizes the libido. As I said, I'm on 5 clicks of cream, 3 on the forearm, 2 on the scrotum, 166 IU HCG every day, 20 milligrams DHEA every day. But at the 6th day, my libido, it just halves, where I'm not particularly interested. So like one day out of the week, I'm not particularly interested. And then on the 7th day, I inject 40 milligrams of cypionate in the upper glute. And then literally within fucking hours, it's all right back. So I go one day of the 7 days where my libido is about half. The entirety of the 7 days, my erections are fucking insane. They get more insane toward the latter end because I've got just a fucking ton of DHT and estradiol has come down. But for most people and for me, excessive DHT with a little bit below estrogen signaling equals insane ragers all night in the morning for sex, but a degree less sensation and libido. So in your case, yes, based on how I know and understand this all works, you'd be best with a 20 to 30 milligram injection of cypionate once a week. Because at E2 at 28, you don't run a major risk of fucking things up, If you do this and you get ED, then you're going to have to go down to 4 clicks of the cream and then 30 to 40 milligrams of cypionate once a week. But you're right there, brother. You're right there. I've seen this state so many times, and that's a great place to be because you're a micro adjustment away from being fucking youthful libido, youthful erections. Yeah, everything being insane. Great job, though. Great job. Great job following my advice, and great job fucking getting results here, dude. I wonder where DHT is on that. I'm sure it's pretty high. Anthony, can you explain DHA a little bit? Seem to like it, but I always thought it raises estrogen. Trying to download prop. HCG 125 to 150 range. I would do the daily injections on HCG. SHBG at 14 is fine. That's not going to cause any problem, despite people telling you that it is. What I would say to you is that, yes, DHEA in above 20 milligrams a day can raise estradiol, but it also converts more DHT from testosterone in the penis. Converts to more DHT, helps the androgen receptor binding. Converts to 8 neurosteroids that are necessary for modulating, particularly GABA receptors, and therefore libido. So I think it's necessary. It also has its own erectogenic properties, DHEA. But it's all in context, man. If you got super elevated estradiol, DHEA is not going to do any of that, any of the good stuff for you. So, I mean, you're just going to have to see, with it, where's the estradiol? Remove it, where's the estradiol? You shouldn't have elevated estrogen assuming the rest of your protocol is an estrogen-friendly protocol with 20 milligrams of DHEA a day. It's when you start doing these wacky doses, which some coaches are suggesting for whatever reason, of 50 to 100 milligrams of DHEA that you run into that problem. Coulterbog. Love that name, dude. Coulterbog is the... Dude, wow. That reminds me of a German beer, I want to say, called Kronenbourg. It's the fucking best beer in the world. Coulterbog. Been on TRT for the last 3 years, but haven't been on HCG, and of course lost my superpower libido. Yeah. If I get some, what is your advice? Start high and lower it over time. I would start at 100 IU a day. Yeah, but make sure that you understand that bringing HCG into your protocol is going to raise the estradiol 5 to 10 points at that dose, potentially even more if you're an unfortunate hyper responder to HCG, which some people are, in terms of estrogen. So just be aware you might need to modulate your TRT protocol so that estrogen still stays in range. But start with 100 IU, do it every day. What will your next cycle be after TRT? You already know. Have you tried growth hormone? I have not tried growth hormone. I've taken ipamorelin, and it's all right. Nothing major, honestly. I just more anabolic on testosterone. I don't know. I mean, I've got everything figured out right now, so it's like if I go on cycle, things are going to get fucked up for a little bit. I've got to let the test and the E2 get up a bit, the E2 specifically, and then I'll start taking aromasin. Is it 12.5 milligrams once a week on 560 a week of tests, and that worked. It wasn't perfect, but my dick worked and my libido was there, but it was like not youthful, and I was okay with that. Like I wasn't trying to dial in sexual function. I was trying to run a cycle, but not have a broken dick at the same time. Quite honestly, if you look at me 2 years ago and then look at like my peak physique this summer, which I probably don't have anywhere here. Do I? I probably don't have it anywhere. It was absolutely positively fucking insane. Yeah, I don't have it. I put on a lot of mass from just 560 of test. And a lot of strength that has stayed. Like I haven't lost anything. It's just, if I'm not as lean, you can't really tell and whatever. I'm still equally strong, even fucking stronger now. So 500 a week of test is what I would do again if I was going to do that. At this point, though, on my cream cypionate hybrid, I don't need to be on a cycle. I can still gain. I'm slowly gaining now that I've switched back to heavier weights with, medium reps, 10 reps or so with heavy fucking weight. I can't put on mass with medium weight, high rep. I know people do that and whatever. I can harden my muscles and make my physique like look better, but I will not gain mass. The only way that I fucking put on mass is by lifting heavier. So I'm doing that again now, and I'm starting to notice that I'm, getting bigger, which is just fucking awesome. Quite honestly, I don't know that I would even want to muck anything up. I'd probably run Anavar at like 10 milligrams a day for 2 months, and then just beef everything up fucking significantly. And most of those gains via how anti-catabolic that drug is and how pro-anabolic it is would be retainable. That's probably what I would do. But if it was test, it'd be 500 a week. 12.5 milligrams of Romacin once a week is what I would do. Maybe twice a week, depending. How do I lower hematocrit? I get high even if I take Testogel. The only thing you can really do is, gel is not the best option either for that. I would go on cream or prop, and you'll probably have better results because you trough, especially with prop. You have these cases, I've seen them, and the Balance My Hormones guy can attest to this, the guy in the UK, Mike, where people have elevated hematocrit on cypionate and then they move to prop and it fixes itself because you get the trough. Otherwise, there's a compound called naringin that you can take, which will lower hematocrit. You just have to be careful with it because it also compounds the effects of Cialis or Viagra, and that could lower your blood pressure entirely too much. MSUDS. Do you guys find higher SHBG usually need AI since they need higher testos to get decent free tests? Yeah, typically. I mean, yes. It's just, or you take the route of binding right to the SHBG to stop it from being a nuisance by using Proviron. Yeah. What is my opinion on Lugol's iodine? Can be beneficial in taking with selenium? Not really. Yeah, no. I mean, iodine could be useful at killing viruses, and sure, you need iodine for healthy thyroid function, but you probably get enough in your diet. You start taking excess of it, it actually does the opposite and can make you hypothyroid. So go read about that and be careful with it. I think it could be useful for a variety of things. I'm not going to discount the significance of Lugol's iodine. I've been around this biohacking sphere for a while, and plenty of people can attest that it helps them in many ways. You just can't take a lot of it. I wouldn't be taking a lot of it. Mike, for PFS, do you see people feeling bad sexually at E2 between 25 and 30, but optimized at 20? Not usually, but it does happen. Again, there are cases where these guys, they've been exposed to elevated estradiol and reduced DHT for a long time. So in some sense, their physiology has been a degree feminized, which sucks, right? And that causes longer-term problems where you then have to be pretty high DHT with low estradiol for a while for that to kind of balance out. However that works at the tissue level is unknown because we can't measure that. But yes, there are individuals, both on TRT, that have not taken finasteride, and people that have blocked DHT that they just need to be at like 20 estradiol. Yeah, the guy that I just told you about that we finally dialed in after exhausting every option on long esters, we got him on cream and an AI. He's at like 19 estradiol, and that's where he functions well. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Joe Harper with the $100 super chat. Is that US? Brother, thank you, man. Holy fuck. I want those AM feels at night. What couple protocols should I try? AM feels? What? I don't know what you mean, brother. Like, you want the energy at nighttime that you have in the morning? Is that what you're saying? Erection quality at night that you have in the morning? Please try to specify with that $99 super chat. If you're trying to have if you're trying to have energy at nighttime that is really significant, I mean, I have that. Like, I have energy all day. There isn't a point at which I kind of feel like, the afternoon slumper thing. I'm just chilling, I do my business stuff, and I'm mostly doing coaching, and then I switch to gaming, and then, hang out with my girl. But I'm pretty much energized most of the time unless I didn't sleep well. And then I kind of feel shitty around 6 or something p.m. But I'm physiologic the whole day in test, And then if I had just injected my once a week hybrid infusion of 40 milligrams of cypionate, there's extra energy there. So the other way to do that, though, is steady state long ester. Steady state long ester, or even fast acting ester, but at a high enough dose, which just usually means you're going to have to take an AI to control the estrogen. But I mean, steady state long ester, at 120 or above, you should have energy all day because you don't really get a trough, man. I mean, you just got constant androgens around and you're energized a lot. Yeah, that's the other way to try that. But again, if you do that, you're just running the risk of needing to control estrogen, So you have to find an in between. Like that's where I am now. I haven't taken an AI since I think my cycle. Oh, no, I was taking one on sports TRT too. That was last July. Not this previous July, but a July. I haven't touched an AI in a long time, like a year and some change. So I figured that out with 5 pumps of cream a day, 3 on the forearm, 2 on the scrotum, 100 milligram cream, 25 milligrams a click, 166 IU of HCG a day, 20 milligrams DHEA every day, and 40 milligrams of cypionate every Saturday. Yeah, I just injected it this morning when I woke up. On the wrong side of the bed, by the way. I woke up on the wrong side of the fucking bed this morning. And I will spare you the details, but I was mad. Yeah, if you want to clarify further, please do so, and I'd be glad to help. Thanks for the super chat, brother. Incredibility. And my libido is not very good. Cialis doesn't even guarantee erections. Yeah, Cialis won't guarantee erections. I don't see your previous question, though. Cialis doesn't guarantee erections if you have a shitty TRT protocol or if your hormones are out of whack. I've seen it. You can take 20 milligrams, man. That's the as needed for sex, like almost guaranteed to work for natties. Should be the disclaimer. Dose of Cialis and you'll still have ED if your protocol's jacked. Anthony, daily HCG 2 different times in a row goes great. Then then at 2 weeks, things go bad. Yeah, that's probably what's happening. The estradiol is just building up. So what you have to do is either reduce that HCG dose so that it balances, or you've got to reduce your test dose so that you can handle that HCG, Dude, I mean, I was handling 330 IU of HCG a day, but I had situated my test protocol where it was all on the scrotum. So I was getting a lot more DHT and a lot less estradiol. So you got to manipulate the factors if you want that to work. Yeah, too much right there. Like the video, yo. Yeah, please do that also. Let's see. Andor is 250 IU of HCG per day. Could it work or too much? I think that I mean, again, I just described how I did 330, but you've got to have the rest of your protocol where E2 falls reasonably, like kind of low. So then you could tolerate all that HCG. That's all. That's all. One day, brother. One day. Is it possible to buy LH, FSH as injectables? Yeah. Yeah, recombinant FSH you can buy. Yes, they are substantially fucking expensive. What up, homie? And/or when does a 20% DHT gel have a justified role? For example, alongside testosterone propanol, what situation would it make sense to use it? In most situations, you should dilute it to the point where you get a milligram of it per drop, a milligram of DHT per drop. That's just the best way to do it so that you don't lose hair fucking rapidly. And also that you don't throw off the DHT estradiol axis too much in favor of DHT, which will also cause problems. You can't have, there's these people out there pushing this notion of like DHT loading. It's not a great idea. Homeostatic mechanisms are in place for a fucking reason to keep your sexual function good. And you can't just be disproportionately with one hormone versus another. You should have elevated DHT, 60 to 90 on the scale, nanograms per deciliter. You don't necessarily need it super physiologic, and you should have estrogen in a reasonable range, but in range. E9 says 1 click of 100 milligram cream gets my DHT to 285. Have a hard time sleeping and feel wired. Is 285 too high? E2's at 43. Well, you need to figure out if it's the estradiol or not, because plenty of people have that feeling with elevated estradiol and that elevated test. Eventually you will get used to that. I had it when I first started on 200 milligrams a week of test cypionate, and then I ended up running a cycle years later at 500, and I was like, fucking fine, man. Slept great. But first of all, you need to get the E2 down to 30. 1 click of 100 milligram cream, what does that mean? How many milligrams of testosterone are in that click? If it's 100 milligrams, well, that's one thing. Usually 1 click should get you 25 milligrams of test. That's the stuck concentration you want, not just 100 milligram cream. You want 25 milligrams per click. In this case, yeah, 1 click if it's actually delivering 100 milligrams of cream, which is probably what's happening here, that's about, where people need to dial in on cream. Now, in your case, you're a little high on things, so you'd need to go lower, which is why you would get the 25 milligram cream. I think you asked this last week, and I gave you advice on that, man. 4 clicks, E2 is in the 40s. 3 clicks, trough is hypogonadal. But do you feel crappy on the trough is the question. Do you feel crappy on the trough? And where is sexual function throughout this whole thing? And is it 25 milligrams a click? You got to figure that out. You got to figure that out, man. What you might need to do is go on the 3 clicks and then add a hybrid. I think that's what I suggested you do last week. 40 milligrams cypionate once a week. Results with creatine, negligible. How do I feel about progesterone? I feel like I know that it makes males have erectile dysfunction on TRT when they take too much progesterone. Pregnenolone rather, because it converts to it. Maybe ask provider for higher dose progesterone. I would not do that. No, you are a man. You do not run on progesterone. Progesterone is necessary for females to prevent uterine bleeding, after it sheds when they take high doses of estradiol. And, to modulate GABA and keep them a little calmer in the presence of stimulatory estradiol. Progesterone is what, makes females females. And your conversion of your mom's HCG-induced testosterone to DHT when you're in the womb is what makes you a biological male. But if progesterone blocks that, you become a female. You don't fucking want progesterone, man. You want it in as minimal as possible, just in the range. For all I give a shit, it could be fucking deficient. It will make no difference. There is no negative outcome associated with low progesterone in males. Just like there's no disease state associated with low prolactin in males. It just doesn't exist. Leave the progesterone alone. You take enough HCG, you'll have enough of it. Now, this is a good question. Is it good to take glycine increased DHT levels when diet is already dialed in? Potentially. Yeah, that's the only thing it was one of the only things in the literature that suggests an upregulation of 5-alpha reductase enzymes. So, potentially. Does there come a time when a man is too old to improve erection libido due to age? No. I've got clients that are 70, well, my oldest client's like 70-something, 72. Ragers. One of my doctors, right? I keep 2 doctors on board. One, a telemedicine doc who's on TRT. He's on pellets and his fucking test sits around 2,000. And he takes an AI and he's dialed in. Erections all the time. We talk about that, him and I. And then I have an endocrinologist here in the Pittsburgh area who's a fucking genius, who I like to get shit prescribed from or talk to shit about. I mean, we talk politics, we talk all kinds of shit. And both of those guys are in their 70s, and they both have great erections. But, predominantly my other doc, who's a telemedicine dude, who is on pellets with 2,000 tests, 2,500 tests, and takes Arimidex and has ragers. So, no, there's not a time where you're just too old. Like, what happens as you age is hormones atrophy. And then the penis, it's going to atrophy. The circuits in the brain that control libido, limbic system, going to atrophy. You need to fuel those. Absolutely, positively, you can be 70 with fucking, crazy libido and great erections. I've seen it. So HCG is your recommendation. What is the dosage and cadence to combat insomnia? Too general of a question. I do not know what you mean. And if you're referring to a previous question, please pair it with that or super chat it. I can't just go back and read, the questions all the time. All right, boys. Coaching is 30% off for the weekend. This goes away every week. The coupon code gets deleted, and then we put it back on the weekend. 30% off the 3 and the 6 month packages. These are one-on-one packages with me. Look, if you're spinning your wheels and you just want a professional to help you do this, that deals with this all of the time as my career, just hire me and save 30% off right now. Code is in the description of this video. Also, all the digital products, Mastering Testosterone Cream Source List, Mastering Testosterone Cypionate, those are 20% off. The code for that is in the screen as well. Any supplements you like for staying asleep? Waking 3 to 4 a.m. a few times a week. This was an issue prior to TRT, so I don't think it's hormone related. Not really, because I think you run the risk of, messing with sexual function. So some supplements can. The shit that modify serotonin or GABA, which is what you're kind of implying, or what at least would work in that case. Valerian root would be one thing, but it will increase. It will act as an agonist of the GABA A receptor, I believe. But that will help. You might just try low doses of melatonin and see if that helps. If it doesn't, what is happening when you're waking up is usually the qualifying question there. Is your mind racing and you can't stop it, and therefore you can't get back to sleep? Well, then you have to have a strategy for that, because all of our minds race in the middle of the night. Mine especially. It just fucking starts. But my strategy is to stop it via executing the same brain state that I do when I'm meditating. So I have to meditate to stop my brain from start acting like the day has started and shit's going on at 3 a.m. If my girl gets up to pee, it inevitably wakes me up, and then my mind might start going, but then I'll just kind of meditate out of it, and then I'm back to sleep. Another wacky strategy, which I don't care, if it works, it works, is you go through a storyline in your head. One of the things that I used to do until I completed the storyline is I pictured this Spanish gang had stolen my car, and they put it basically in one of their chop shops. And then me and 5 or 6 dudes from my scout platoon in the army infiltrated their fucking shop, raided the shop quietly and took them all out, and then got my car back. So I would go through that, and each night it would progress, and we'd be further along this big chop shop until we eventually got my car back. So doing shit like that can get you back to sleep. I know that sounds a little wacky, but if it works, it works. That's all I got to say, bro. If it works, it fucking works, man. Have you used oral DHT? No. Or is it obsolete after having access to it? It's not that it's obsolete. I have used oral DHT, but it's in and out really, really quickly. Really, really quickly. And I don't think that you actually get the compounded effect you want at the sex organs with oral DHT compared to transdermal DHT on the testicles, right? That you're just not getting the same bang for your buck there, man. And you need to. No, I don't suggest taking GABA. GABA itself as a supplement will be effective. It's just less effective than what's that stuff called? It's GABA binded synthetically with niacin. It's escaping me because I haven't thought about it in 4 years. But GABA as a supplement itself, via how quickly it gets metabolized and how it's exposed to stomach acid, it will have an effect, but not as a pronounced effect as if you synthetically bond niacin with GABA, and then it can therefore cross the blood-brain barrier. Any good results with oxytocin spray or cream? Yeah, I have done a whole video on oxytocin, and it made me feel oxytonergic. Fucking super loving and bondy and shit like that. Yeah. And a degree better orgasms. Better climax sensation. Just an upgrade from whatever state you're in, just kind of a hypersensitive state. But that is assuming you're on a good TRT protocol that is not, working counter to climax sensation. Are there situations where it's beneficial to keep estrogen below 20? Yeah, again, the PFS folks, some of them have to keep it that low. 19, right now I have a guy at 19 and he's fucking dialed in, right? Higher than that and it's a problem. And there are just some individuals, for whatever reason, Ryan Root's guy that's on his podcast frequently named Jay thinks that it has to do with the degree of masculinization that a male brain has undergone, probably via exposure to DHT over his lifetime, that makes it so he needs less estradiol and does better with less estradiol. Meaning the fucking more masculine of a dude you are, the lower estrogen you're better at, or something like that. I haven't seen the research on that, but I do think that guy Jay is a super smart dude. And, anything that comes out of that channel, we should all definitely listen to. I got to do a podcast with Root and his people. I haven't done any collaborations. I've been sort of antisocial lately, but there's been a lot going on in my life. So that's, I guess, why. A lot of crazy shit going on. Told you guys I do advantage playing with high limit slots. I've won an exorbitant amount of money in the last 35 days. tens of thousands of bucks. Well, that's been going on. But that's fucking routine for me. Routine. Any other questions, brothers? If you got them, ask them. Smoke them if you got them. That's what we used to say in the military. And I did smoke. I smoked from the age of 16. Quit in OSUT, or basic training and advanced training boot camp, effectively. And then I smoked again when I got to Fort Hood, Texas. Smoked throughout the Army. Smoked fucking like a chimney in Iraq. And then quit at 25. And then started back up again at 33 and then quit after that. Yeah. Smoking is just not good, brother. It is not good. Wish I had never started when I was young. I was like 16 years old, fucking stealing my mom's cigarettes at the time. And me and my brother would smoke weed and then smoke cigarettes. That's what I was doing at 16. Weed and cigarettes, brother. Getting into fucking trouble. And that persisted, and that's why I joined the Army. Because I knew I wanted my future to be straight, and that would be the only thing that would, give me some structure. And I just was wanting to get away, and, watched a lot of Black Hawk Down. And, I watched that movie every fucking day back then. And I was like, you know what? That's what I want to do. I want specifically a combat role. I don't want to go and take the fucking ASVAP and, be a support person or something. So I ended up being a 19 Delta, and I went to Iraq. I got what I wanted. And then I was like, fuck no, I'm not going back. I'm getting out. I just recently showed my girl some of the videos, from Iraq, shooting at cars and shit. Some of the discussions that I had with my camera. It's pretty wild to go back there. Hey, Ryan, my testosterone at 754, estrogen at 753. Okay, you're over aromatizing, definitely. DHA 390. Having slight ED with megadose DIM help lower estrogen? No, not really. No, you got to change your protocol here. And you've got to figure out why this is happening. 754 total testosterone, your estradiol should be 20. That's it. If you're a normal aromatizer. So you've got to fix this, man. You've got to fix that. And if it isn't fixable on a long ester, you got to go on cream. Got to go on cream, brother. DIM, let me just be clear. It's not that effective, dude. It's no savior. I think people look at it and go, oh, maybe this will be the savior. It's not. It's not an aromatase inhibitor. Man, it does some changing of the estrogens. You convert more to different estrogens than estradiol. But in the end, it is not some estrogen-lowering agent by leaps and bounds, which makes some significant difference in your protocol. Anthony, can't go less than 25 a prop, not anabolic enough, like I've discussed. Absolutely. I am the same. 25 is the number where 25 to 30, and 30 my erections work, but they're the estrogen's a little too high, it's a little hit or miss. 25 is good for sexual function, but I'm not that anabolic. That's why for me personally, the only way for me to deal with prop is to take a little bit of Aromacin. And then I can do 50 milligrams a day, 40 milligrams a day, and that's pretty fucking awesome. Yankee watched The Drop. So this is a movie that's like a total man movie, and just you'd understand it if you watched it. You just it's such a fucking good movie, and it's kind of mob-like, and it's got Tom Hardy in it, and then the guy from Sopranos in it, the main guy who died, and it's just one of those movies that just I'll watch over and over again over the years. It's so fucking good. Because you just don't see the ending coming, and you're kind of wondering the whole time. And Tom Hardy plays like a soft-spoken, modest kind of character until you eventually find out what he's really fucking capable of at the end. It's amazing. And yes, kind of has those Brad Pitt killing them softly vibes. I saw that movie too, and it was also fucking awesome. Do you know if PFS is always recoverable on the right protocol? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. There isn't a case that isn't recoverable. There are cases that it might take longer. But I mean, I literally, a guy that I'm dealing with now who's dialed in on 5 clicks of cream with an AI and some HCG, this was one of the worst cases I've seen in, I don't know, 5 years. 5 years. This guy was one of the worst fucking cases I've seen. Dialed in now. It's an endocrine problem, man. It's a hormone problem. And I think folks need not complicate it with the shit that's being said on the forums. All the different singular compound strategies, lithium orotate. It's fucking doing nothing for you, man. Thinking it's like neurotransmitter based. You know, they take some Mucuna, things get better. Well, of course, you got to search with dopamine, but dopamine is not the single driver of the male sexual system. It's so much more complicated than that. It's hormones, and it's the right protocol. Even guys on just TRT that don't have PFS have a hard time dialing in sometimes. So it's not just that TRT fixes it, doesn't fix it. You see someone go on TRT, it's not fixed, and you think, oh, TRT should not be used for this or isn't the solution. It definitely is. HRT is the solution. I think it is, but you've got more atrophy than other people. You know, there's a study on this. You should go look at it. It's like, you know, examining the testicular atrophy of long-term steroid users or something like this. Google that or ask chat to try to get you that study, and you'll find it. It's pretty significant because they, you know, these guys are dead and they go and look at their testicles and they're so fucking degraded. Penis sensitivity is much better at E2 at 45 than at 20 to 30. EQ is similar, but usually better with lower E2. I want 200 milligrams Testi and Primo. I dropped the Primo from 150 to let E2 rise. Thoughts? I think it's pretty common, but you know, it's what that means is that you might be able to get by at 45, but with a little bit of DHT to help the erections. EQ is similar, but usually better with lower E2 all the time. Again, at the 6th day of my protocol, when E2 drops, but I'm still pretty DHT heavy because I just put cream on that literal day, my erections are fucking amazing. Like 5th day into the 6th day, all night. Like I have them every night spontaneously. But those days, the end of the cycle, they're just, I just fucking have boners all night. And that's just what happens. I need higher E2 for sensitivity too, but not 45. It just needs not to be 20. When it gets down to 20, again, the erections are insane, but the sensation and libido drop a little bit. So for you, what you need to try to experiment with doing is getting your estradiol at like 35. Because that might be the sweet spot. And that's a tolerable number in my opinion. It's a tolerable number. Like you said it yourself, your erection quality is always going to be better with lower estradiol. That's just the bottom line. Because estrogen is the thing on TRT that kills erections. Like if you're having ED on TRT, it's estrogen related. Period. Every single time. Every single time. Unless you took an AI and induced it, 'cause you can do that too. Try to get it to 35, 37 and see how you fare. That's what I would say. But, you know, you're just one of those individuals that needs somewhat of a wacky fucking number set here in order for things to work. But the general theme here is common. Estrogen goes too low and you're going to lose sensation to a degree. Yeah. DHT goes too low. You're going to lose sensation to a degree. Homeostatic ranges, again, high DHT, estrogen in the 20 to 30 sweet spot. But again, I give the 20 to 35 range typically because of situations like this. So try to get it to 35, 37 and see where you end up, man. I'll get to this in just a sec. Water break. I used to stay between 280 and 340. Now I'm at 216. TRT and blasting. Plus retatrutide. And low doses has cut the weight. Or keep it as longevity. New studies show it's helpful. I'm not that clued into that. That is totally a vigorous Steve topic. Not that clued into that, bro. Do different testosterone cream bases have different effectiveness? I'm not really sure. I use Versa and I've never had a problem with it. And I don't know. I don't really know. I kind of just suggest everyone get Versa base. Frankly, if anyone's doing cream, just use Defy Medical and get their 100 milligram cream. They have, in my opinion, the best shit. I switched to 3 clicks and pulled trough. Total T303, E224, and DHT79. That's your trough. So the E2 on peak goes where? Where does that peak go? Now, I would want to know that for sure, Joe Harper. I don't think this is terrible, you know, because it indicates that your peak is probably pretty good on total T and DHT, obviously. Yeah. Where does E2 go on trough on 4 clicks? And is this 25 milligrams a click? Is it 100 milligram cream? Definitely include that. Jesse with a $10 super chat. Thank you, brother. And thank you, man. Thanks for fucking being here, dude. Currently using Aromacin? No. Nope. Don't have to use an AI. I'm where I'm at right now. Nope. Haven't taken aromatase inhibitor since sports TRT, like last summer. Not this previous summer, but the summer before when I was working down from a cycle. Yeah, that cycle was a year and a half ago, and I've retained most of the mass. So the person that asked me, like, will I go on a cycle again? I don't really need to. Lifting heavy, I can put mass on. I am putting mass on again now. It's just slowly happening. Okay, so this is your... So Joe, what is the concentration cream? Please specify. Please specify. And how many milligrams testosterone per click? Boys, coaching is 30% off this weekend. All right, so Saturday, Sunday, it terminates 11:59 Eastern time on Sunday night. The code for that is 30 now. It's at the bottom of the screen. You can book me for 3 months or 6 months at 30% discount right now. That's significant. Listen, if you're spinning your wheels and you just need a professional to oversee everything, just engineer your protocols, to listen to your feedback, to give you the directions on looking at your lab values, to make adjustments based on the combination of those things to get you dialed in permanently. That's the benefit of coaching. It's like people are spinning their wheels, or they'll be in the zone for 3 weeks and then sexual function goes awry again. We want to make it permanent. That's what we do. We'll situate the libido and erections, the protocol, so you can be on a forever protocol. You don't want to be fucking dialing in TRT for the next 10 years. You know, it's a painstaking endeavor. Just book me if you have the budget. Save yourself the headache. Let's get it done. I like that you promote other podcasts. You seem humble. Seem people to do the right sources to get knowledge you don't have yet. Yeah, I mean, there's other people that just have a better knowledge in certain shit than I do, you know? Like, obviously, regarding steroids and stuff, Vigorous Steve, but regarding those fat-burning compounds like retrotrutide, that's a Vigorous Steve topic for sure. I don't know much about it. HGH, all that stuff would certainly be Vigorous Steve and some other podcasters. Regarding some of the metabolic aspects of how you aromatize, like stuff you could do with your thyroid hormones and with your clearance of estradiol, that's like a Dave Lee topic, much more than it is my topic, you know? And what else? Who are the other TRT people? I think the Balance My Hormones guy over in the UK has some pretty good content because they've discussed prop a lot, and you know, and their clinic has it now, and they've got a lot of stuff at their clinic. So that's a good channel generally to watch. I can say that the channels that you would want to be cautious of are the channels that are, you know, saying anything that is fringy and that goes against what is scientifically fucking already conclusive, i.e. the shit that talks about never manage estrogen or don't test it. Just be careful with those channels. And there are a couple of them out there. And then there are people that like piggyback off of that, like, you know, to be important or whatever it is. I don't know what it is. And they make channels based on that. I mean, there's this one guy, I think his name is like Evan something, TRT with Evan. He's one of those estradiol just goes where it goes, and that's the natural process. And, you know, well, yeah, it is the natural process. It does go where it goes. Doesn't mean it's good. Estrogen that's elevated usually causes erectile dysfunction. Usually just causes erectile dysfunction. Brothers, I don't know what you guys are doing today, but I don't know if you can see. I'll move the chat, actually, if I can. I just got a fucking, it's like a $90 mouse pad. I guess I can't find the chat. That orange pad. It's a $90 gaming mouse pad. It's a Gitopper GT Pro Esports. It's a gaming. And this, which is charging, is a fucking $200 mouse. 800 kilohertz reporting time, pulling rate. Makes a difference in micro adjustments when you're competitively playing Warzone, which is what I do in ranked play, and just playing controller players who have aim assist. I'm a keyboard and mouse player. I aim by myself, and competing with them, you've got to have the best quality shit. I have a new headset coming in today. I'm going to do some Art is War audio tweaks later too. For those of you that know Warzone, kind of excited for the Super Bowl. I'm going for the Seahawks all the way. I just think they're a better team, and I'm technically being a little bit of a front runner. I mean, I've liked them all year, but I wanted the Eagles to win because I'm from the Philly area, and since they didn't, then it was the Steelers, but the Steelers suck, and thankfully they got rid of their shitty coach, and they're overhauling their whole system, which is going to give us at least a shot in this city. But they lost, so it was like, okay, frankly, the two best teams are the Patriots and the Seahawks, and I like the Seahawks better. I think Drake May, the Patriots quarterback, is a little too unseasoned. I think that's going to show in the Super Bowl, just like it recently showed where Patrick Mahomes looked like a child in the Super Bowl against the Eagles, where they basically just got blown out. So I think that's what's going to happen this year, and I think Darnold and the rest of the crew in Seattle are just going to fucking do it. They're just going to do what they do. They're such a solid team this year. I think they're the best team. I think they have it. Now, if somehow the Patriots squeak a win out, they're a good team too. But I truly think that the Seahawks are going to take this. Joe Rudy, I've listened and learned a lot from you. My drive to work. Plus, I'm lucky enough to wear earpods at work. Awesome. I've taken so much. You've been a blessing in so many ways. Thank you for what you do. Thank you, bro. I mean, I love that, dude. I listen to folks too at home when I'm in my office, when I'm not doing work, at the gym, when I'm running on the treadmill. And I have for many years listened to so many people, just dudes that talk about upward mobility in life. Anything personal development, I eat it up. Dude, I used to watch a lot of Gary Vee, but now, his message, it just hasn't evolved, and it's the same stuff. And I've already heard everything that Gary Vee has to say, right? So I listened to a lot of Gary Vee when he was talking much more about entrepreneurship. I fucking loved that and ate it up. Watched a lot of Grant Cardone, a real estate dude who's a business guy and is talks a lot of good shit for entrepreneurs and sales. And many other people through the years. I listened to the Tate brothers, mostly for the business chops. They have a lot of good business chops and man shit. Like, they talk about man shit a lot, and it's what we all need, dude. Because if your dad isn't producing that kind of stuff, you need to seek it elsewhere. And then just make you become that kind of dude that's like upward moving all the time, that knows life is war and is okay with that. And like on a day where you have an excuse not to go to the gym, it's snowing or whatever, or maybe I'll take a day off, you fucking feel guilty and you go anyway. That's the kind of men we should all strive to be, man. Joe Harper, 100 milligram, 10% cream. Yes. Cream is amazing, and I'm so close. HED is 150 IU daily. I want those AM feels from 4 clicks without the nighttime flatness. E2 is way too high at night. Yeah, you're just going to have to situate this a little bit differently, man. Yeah, like I said, I would go down to 3 pumps of... If I were you, I might go down to 3 pumps if you're on 4 clicks. And then infuse 20 to 50 milligrams of cypionate, so that you end up with lower end estradiol just from that 3 clicks, and then you can raise it a little bit, hopefully keep it within a good homeostatic sex-friendly zone, but then have the energy. Yeah, 20 to 50 milligrams cypionate once every 7 days with 3 clicks of cream might be something good for you to try. But you're right there, man. You just got to finagle it a little bit, dude. You got to finagle it just a little bit. You might even consider taking some Proviron. Doing nothing with where you are right now, unless the E2 is a little too high. But taking some Proviron, because that will add the androgenic feel to keep you energized. Proviron is fucking amazing for that, man. That might be what you want to do. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's where we were at. And that's the previous question. And promoting podcasts and stuff. Sorry about that, boys. But thank you for letting me know. Brother. G. Roberts, I take 14 milligrams intramuscular testipinate every other day. Right. So, every other day. So, No, you're doing that every day. 98 milligrams a week is every day. And this gives me 700, 800. Yeah, 70s free estradiol, 40-ish. Take 30 milligrams each libido on the low side. Consider cream. You should reduce the estradiol. Yeah. So I would make the move to 12 milligrams a day of tesipionate. See where everything balances out. The total T is gonna be about 600. That estradiol will finally be in range. Your libido will likely be better. But I do not see any HCG in here. If you are having atrophied testicles or non-functional testicles, your libido is going to suffer. Your libido is just going to suffer. So you've got to get two things figured out here. How to implement HCG in the protocol and how to get your estrogen in the 27 range, 30 range or so. And figure out where you need to be. Again, rarely some folks have to be at 20 estradiol. But I think you're going to be fine at 25, 27, or 30 with functional testicles. So you got a range of different options here. Take this down to 12 milligrams a day. See where it balances out. E2 is almost definitely going to fall in range. If you are not energized enough and you feel like kind of like low testosterone-ish, which you probably might be at that point in order to get estrogen in range, a pump of 100 milligram cream every day or every other day on the scrotum will fix that problem. Also, 25 milligrams per viron a day will fix that problem as well. Possibility going less than 700 IUs of HCG a week. Yeah, you could go to 600. I mean, you would do like 80 IU a day or something like that. Maybe 560. 90 IU a day. 630. I think the minimum effective dose is 700. Current dose is 166 IU a day. Yep. Thanks so much, Ron F. Test Prop Primo Mass Proviron on anything I do with prop and cream? Testy held up in customs. I'd have to see the context of the rest of this again, but you might be able, I think what you need to be doing is having a bit of an infusion of either a long or short ester into your protocol to kind of get you in the zone. In that case, 5 to 10 milligrams of prop a day would be a good option. Test E held up in customs. That sucks. That sucks, my brother. All right, boys, I'm going to end the stream. I got some stuff I got to do. I also have to see what the hell the driving conditions are like because we just got, a few inches of snow. It's not bad, but plows haven't hit the streets yet, and it's looking a little murky. So I've got to see if it's possible for me to get to the gym. I would really like to force that into reality. So I've got to go get that done. Much more content coming this week. We are back to doing daily content, or at least 3-4 videos a week, so please pay attention to that. A lot of new topics coming out this week, next week, through the month of February, through the month of March. Going to be going to Florida probably late March, so we'll be taking a break for about a week, but we're going to kill it until then. Coaching is 30% off. The graphic is on the screen. The code is at the bottom of that graphic and down in the description of this video. That is 3 and 6 month coaching. If you're looking to book now, is absolutely the time because this won't last forever. Otherwise, boys, kick ass, rock on, enjoy the rest of your day. Those of you Bitcoin people, just hang tight, okay? If it's not all of your liquidity, which it fucking shouldn't be, just wait. Just wait. I think we're going to have the best spring of our lives, and it's going to take a while, but in due time. All right, boys. Peace.